I did my laundry late, on purpose, because late is when the place is empty. No wait for a machine, no small talk, nobody folding next to you. A bright room, big windows, a wall of dryers turning, the whole place lit up like a fish tank. It always felt safe to me, the brightness. You can see everything. Anyone outside can see in. That's the thing I had backwards. A lit-up room at midnight isn't full of witnesses. It's a stage with the house lights on and nobody in the seats. When I pulled in, there was one other car in the lot, parked off at the far end away from the doors, nose out, in the dark by the dumpsters where the lot lights didn't reach. I noticed it the way you notice anything a little off, and then I let it go. Plenty of reasons to park weird. Inside, the place looked empty at first, and then I heard the back door, the service door by the bathrooms, the one customers don't use, click shut. And a man came around the machines into the front, like he'd come in the back of a laundromat at midnight on purpose. I started my loads and kept to myself, the way you do. He didn't have any laundry. No basket, no bag, no quarters in his hand, nothing in the machines. He just drifted, slow, down the row, looking at the dryers like there was something to read in them, and every loop brought him a little closer to where I was standing. I kept my eyes on my own machine, and I did the math we all do and pretend we don't. Where the door was, how far my car was, and how completely, suddenly, alone the two of us were in all that light. He opened with the most ordinary thing there is. He pointed at the bottle on top of my machine and asked what it was. My stain remover. That stuff any good? Friendly, easy. A normal question one person asks another in a laundromat. And I gave the normal answer. Yeah, it works. And turned back to my folding. The little signal that says we're done talking now. He didn't take it. Yeah, what makes that one better than the others? Another question. And later I'd understand that the questions were never about the soap at all. Because every time I answered, he had a reason to ask one more. And every question kept me standing right there in the narrow aisle between the machines, with him filling the open end of it. He'd stepped in just close enough that to leave, I'd have to step toward him or squeeze past him. And he kept it so light, so pleasant. Does it work on grease? What about on whites? Where do you even buy it? That to break it off, I'd have had to be rude to a man who, on the surface, was only making conversation about detergent. As long as we were just chatting, I was the one being unreasonable if I walked away. I tried the polite exits and he stepped over every one. I said, well, good luck, and turned to my dryer. He asked another question. I gave a one-word answer and didn't turn around. He moved a half step to stay in my eye line. I looked toward the door, openly, the way you do to signal you're leaving, and he shifted, just slightly, so he was a little more between me and it. Never a grab, never a word you could call wrong, just a man who would not let the conversation end, and would not let me past, and kept smiling like the two of us were having a nice time. I thought about my phone, and there was nothing to dial it for. What do you say? A man's asking me about laundry detergent and won't stop. There's no crime in that. There's no one coming for that. I thought about just shoving past him to the door and leaving my clothes, my basket, my night, and I could see how that goes too. A man who follows a fleeing woman out into a dark parking lot to a car parked nose out in the one black corner of the lot. Running wasn't safe. It just moved it outside into his dark. So I stopped trying to be smaller than the moment. He wanted me nervous, polite, easy to keep, apologizing my way around him, laughing his questions off, making myself agreeable so the nice feeling wouldn't break. Because the nice feeling was his. It was the thing holding me in the aisle. And the only move I had left was to take the nice feeling away. So when he asked, one more time, what made that one work so well, I looked him dead in the eye and I didn't smile. And I said, "It gets out everything. Grease, grass, blood." I let the last word sit. Blood's the hard one, but this stuff takes it right out. You could wash a whole murder out of a shirt with it and nobody'd ever know. Flat, certain, like I'd done it. And I watched the friendliness drain off his face and something behind it flinch. Because for the first time all night, he wasn't sure which one of us was the dangerous one. The questions stopped, just like that. He made a sound, half a laugh that didn't work, and he looked away from me, and the whole shape of him changed. The easy, planted, patient stance gone, replaced by a man who suddenly wanted very much to be somewhere else. He mumbled something I didn't catch, and he turned and went. Not out the front, the customer door, the lit one facing the street. He went out the back. The service door by the bathrooms he'd come in by. The door no one's supposed to use. I stood there with my heart going, and I made myself watch the lot. And after a minute, the car in the dark corner, the one parked nose out by the dumpsters, pulled out, no headlights at first, and rolled to the edge of the lot and sat. Just sat there a moment, facing the lit windows, facing me, before the lights came on and it went. He never came back in, but he'd watched, from the dark, the room I was standing alone and bright inside of, and I understood the brightness had never hidden me from anything. It had just made me easy to see. I think about the version where I'd kept being polite, where I'd laughed at the right places, answered one more question, then one more, until he had whatever he was waiting for, the room fully empty, or my nerve fully gone. It would have looked to anyone glancing in that window like two people chatting by a dryer. No grab, no shout, just a friendly man and a woman being nice back, right up until the moment it stopped looking like that. I still do laundry. I just don't do it alone in the bright anymore. I go when the place has people in it, real ones, awake ones. And if a man with no laundry wants to talk to me about soap, I'm not nice about it. I used to think being pleasant kept me safe, that if I was easy and agreeable, nothing bad could land on me. It's the opposite. Easy is what they're shopping for. So now I let myself be the odd one, the cold one, the woman who says a strange thing and watches your face. People think I'm rude. They didn't watch a man come in the back door of an empty laundromat at midnight and not do his laundry. After that night, I'd rather be the strange one in the room than the easy one. The strange ones get left alone. My school had a thing they drilled into us from day one. Don't walk alone at night. Call the campus ride. A free escort service, runs till dawn, comes and gets you and takes you to your door, so no student ever has to cross the dark parts of campus by themselves. They put it on posters, on the back of our IDs, in every safety email. Trust the ride. It was the one stranger on that whole campus we were all taught, over and over, was safe. Which is exactly why it worked on me for the 30 seconds that it did. It was late and I was walking back from the library, the long way, across the quad and down past the lots. That stretch where the buildings end and it gets dark between the lampposts. I had my earbuds in, head down, the way you walk when it's cold and late and you just want your bed. And I should have called the ride, honestly, that's what it's for. But it's a 15-minute walk and the app takes a while and I was tired, so I just walked. Which means nobody knew I was out there. No request logged, no van coming, just me on a dark path when the headlights came up slow behind me. An SUV rolled up alongside me, matching my pace. And my first read was relief, almost, because it had the look. Dark SUV, some kind of decal on the door, the shape of an official thing. The window came down and the guy leaned over, friendly, and said the magic words. "Hey, campus ride, You headed back to the dorms? Hop in, I'll run you over. And everything they trained into me lit up green. The ride, the safe stranger, the one you're supposed to get into the car with. My hand actually started to move toward the door before any of the wrong things caught up with me. The first wrong thing was small, and I almost talked myself out of it. The campus ride isn't an SUV. It's those little white shuttle vans, the ugly ones, with the big reflective markings and the number on the side and a light bar. You can spot them from across the quad. I'd been in them. Everybody had. This was just a regular dark SUV with a decal on the door, the kind of sticker anybody can order. And the second wrong thing landed right behind the first. You don't flag down the ride. It doesn't cruise around looking for tired students. You request it, and a specific van comes to a specific spot for a specific name. It does not just appear beside you in the dark and offer. So I did the careful thing. I said, "Oh, I didn't request a ride," testing it. Because a real driver would say, "Yeah, we got a call for this area," or "No problem, you can book me right now." Something that fit how the actual service works. He didn't. He said, "Don't worry about it, man. I'm already out here. Just get in. I'll take you." Don't worry about it, which is not how a school service that logs every single ride for liability talks. It's how someone talks who needs you in the car and needs the booking part to never happen. And I slowed down, and he slowed down with me. I sped up a little, testing again, and the SUV crept right back up level with me, keeping that window beside my shoulder, keeping the conversation open, keeping me from just walking on like a person who'd said no. He stayed friendly. That was the part that made my skin go cold. The friendlier he got, the harder he worked to keep that car right next to me, the more it stopped feeling like an offer and started feeling like a thing being kept open until I stepped into it. He felt me cooling off, and he leaned harder on the one thing that had almost worked. Seriously, it's the campus shuttle. It's what it's for. You really shouldn't be walking out here alone this late. Using the safety talk on me. Telling me the dark was dangerous, which was true, and that his car was the way out of it, which was the lie. He was wearing the exact warning the school had drilled into me and pointing it at his own open door. "I'm good, thanks. I'm almost there," I said, and I started to angle away, off the dark edge of the road, back toward the lit path where the buildings were, where there were a couple of other people walking. And he didn't take the no and pull away. He kept pace with me from the road, the SUV crawling, tracking me toward the light, still talking, still smiling, still working it, like the no was just a thing to get around, not a thing to respect. And then, while I was still saying no, the passenger door opened. He'd reached over and popped it from the inside, swung it out toward me, the door just standing open across the few feet of dark between us. Interior lights spilling out, the seat right there, like the matter was already settled and I was being slow about it. He hadn't waited for a yes. He'd opened the door I hadn't agreed to get into. The way you open a door for someone who's already coming, or someone you've decided is coming whether they agreed or not. That open door was the thing that broke it. I stopped pretending it was a misunderstanding. I said loud, flat, "No, I'm walking." And I turned and went hard toward the lit path and the other people on it. Not running, but done. Done being polite to a man who'd stopped pretending to ask. For 1 second, the SUV stayed level with me, door still hanging open, the guy leaning to keep me in view, and I got in among the other students on the path, close enough that one of them glanced over, and that was the thing he couldn't use. Witnesses, people who'd see his door, his face, his car. The door swung shut, and the SUV rolled off unhurried, no screech, no anger, down toward the dark end of the lot and gone. The way something leaves when it knows there's another night and another tired kid walking alone, coming. I reported it the second I got inside. Campus police, the safety line, everything. And the next morning, the whole school got the email. A warning. Be advised, somebody's out there in a private vehicle posing as the campus ride. Do not get in. The real service is requested through the app and arrives in marked vans only. Which meant I wasn't the first one he'd pulled up beside. They never found him. No plate that went anywhere, no name, just a dark SUV and a sticker, and a man who knew the one phrase that turns the safest sounding offer on campus into the most dangerous car in the dark. I still call the ride. I'm not telling you the campus ride is the scary part. It's a good thing, and it saved a lot of kids a lot of dark walks. But something changed in how I trust it. I used to trust the words. If a car said campus ride, that was enough. The name was the safety. It isn't. The name's the easiest thing in the world to put on a sticker. So now I trust the thing, not the costume it's wearing. I request it. I wait for the van I requested. I check it's the marked one with the number on the side. And if a friendly car just appears and offers, I don't care what it says it is. I keep walking toward the people and the light. The real help doesn't have to talk you into the car. I sat in a hospital parking lot at 2 a.m. for a long time before I could drive. My mom was inside, stable, finally, after a night that had been anything but. And I was sitting in my car in the lot, just breathing, the way you do when the worst of it has passed and your hands won't quite work yet. A hospital felt like the safest place in the world to fall apart. Lit up all night, people everywhere, cameras, security, doors that never close. Of all the places to be alone in the dark, I thought, this is the one that's watched. That was the thing I had exactly backwards. I'd noticed him earlier, inside, without really noticing him. When we'd come into the ER waiting area, hours before, he was there. A man, alone, sitting in the rows of chairs. Nothing about him stood out, and that's the point. Nobody in an ER waiting room stands out. Everyone there looks a little wrong, tired, scared, waiting on bad news, sitting too long, watching the door. He fit right in. A man sitting alone watching everyone come and go is the single most normal thing in that room. It's what the whole room is doing. So I clocked him and I unclocked him in the same half second. But over the hours, in the back of my mind, he kept being there. Every time I came out to the waiting area to pace or get a coffee or just breathe, he was still in it. Not at the desk, not being called back, not with anybody, no sick wife he was waiting on, no kid, nobody he ever got up to go see. Just there, sitting, then by the vending machines, then by the doors. Then once outside, standing at the edge of the lot looking back at the building, drifting. Hours of a man waiting in a place where waiting hides you completely for someone who never seemed to come. And I did what we all do. I explained him away, over and over. He's got someone in surgery and the waiting's killing him. He's homeless and it's warm in here and nobody's making him leave. He's having a rough night like everybody in this building. All of it reasonable, all of it kind. Every single explanation made him invisible again, which is the gift a hospital gives a man like that for free. 100 innocent reasons to be exactly where he is. So the part of you that's uneasy keeps apologizing to the part of you that's polite, and you look away one more time. By 2 a.m, the waiting room had mostly emptied. And when I finally left my mom's side to go sit in my car and pull myself together, he wasn't in the chairs anymore. I noticed that, dimly, walking out. The man who'd been part of the furniture for 6 hours wasn't in the room. And I didn't think hard about it because I was wrung out and I just wanted to sit in my own car in the dark for a minute, in the safe, bright, watched-over lot, before I drove home. So I went out the sliding doors, across the lit apron by the entrance, and into the dark where the cars were.
Here's the thing about a hospital lot at night that I'd never once thought about.
The doors are bright, floodlit, cameras, the security desk right inside the glass. And the cars are brightish under the tall lot lights. But between them, between the lit doors and the first row of cars, there's a strip of dark. A gap the light from the building doesn't reach, and the lot lights don't quite fill. 30 feet of nobody's looking, where every single person who parks there walks alone, head down, keys out, tired, for about 10 seconds, right between the two safest feeling places in the whole hospital. I got to my car and got in and locked the doors out of plain habit. And I sat there, engine off, lights off, just breathing in the dark. And after a minute, in the side mirror, I saw movement back by the building. A figure coming out of the lit doorway, not walking to a car, standing at the edge of the light on that strip of dark between the doors and the lot, and looking out across the rows. Not toward an exit, not toward a particular car, just scanning, slow, the way you look for something you haven't found yet. And I knew, the way you know, that it was him, the man from the waiting room. Out here now in the dark seam, with his someone who never came finally given up on, doing in the lot what he'd done in the room for hours, watching, waiting, picking. Except the room had been full of light and people, and out here it was just dark cars, and whoever was sitting alone in one of them. I held very still, engine off, lights off, hoping the dark that hid him hid me too. It didn't, because I'd done one thing without thinking. When I got in, I'd had my phone out, and the screen was still lit in my lap. A little rectangle of light in a dark car, and I watched, in the mirror, his head stop scanning and settle on me. On the one car in that row with a faint glow inside it, a person, alone, not driving away, lit up just enough to be found. And he stepped off the curb and started across the dark gap toward my car. He didn't hurry. That's what I can't forget. A normal walking pace, unbothered, hands loose. A man with every right to be crossing a hospital parking lot. Because he did have every right. Walking across a public lot is not a thing anyone can stop. There was nothing yet to scream about, nothing to report, no rule he was breaking as he closed the distance. Just a stranger, I was certain of, getting closer to my window, one ordinary step at a time. My keys were in my bag, and my hands were shaking from the whole long night, and I dug for them, eyes flicking from the bag to the mirror, him crossing the gap, 20 feet, 15, the keys snagging on everything, the way they do exactly when you need them. And I got them out and got the right one and got it into the ignition as he came up the side of the car, not running, not lunging, just arriving, calm, at the dark window of a woman alone who hadn't driven away. He came to the driver's door, not the passenger side, the driver's side right at my shoulder, the side you have to deal with him on, the side you can't pull away from without going past him. And he leaned down, slightly, toward the glass, and his hand came up toward the door handle. Not knocking, not waving, not mouthing, "Are you okay?" the way a worried stranger would. His hand went for the handle to try the door, the way you reach for a door you've decided is going to open. I turned the key and dropped it into drive in the same motion, and his fingers hit the handle as the car started rolling. I felt it, that little tug as the door he'd grabbed pulled out of his hand. The lock holding, the car moving, and I didn't look at him. I just drove. Hard, across the lot, the wrong way down a lane, bumping the curb toward the lit exit and the road, heart trying to come up my throat, checking the mirror. And he was just standing there in the empty space where my car had been, watching me go, hands at his sides. Already I knew, thinking about the next dark car. I drove straight back around to the bright ER doors and laid on the horn until security came out. And I told them, shaking, "There's a man in your lot." And here's the part that hollowed me. They knew. Not who he was. They didn't know that. Nobody did. But the guard's face when I described him changed, because he'd been flagged inside already. A man who'd been dropped off hours earlier saying he needed help, who never checked in, never gave a name, never saw a doctor, who'd just been in the building and around it all night, sitting near people, drifting close. I wasn't the first car he'd walked up to in that dark. I was just the one that left in time. By the time security and then the police went out, he was already gone, off into the dark around a hospital with a dozen ways out and no fence, no name to look for, never found. I used to think a busy, lit up, watched over place couldn't hold something like that the crowd was the safety. But a hospital is full of strangers waiting alone in the dark for someone. And that is the one disguise he never had to put on. The place wears it for him. So now, when I'm somewhere that feels safe because it's public, I watch for the man it's hiding. The one with no reason to be there that he'll say out loud. And I never sit alone in a dark car with the doors unlocked, anywhere, lit up just enough to be found. I drive first and fall apart later, because the seam between the safe places is where he waits, and the only thing that got me through it was leaving before he reached the glass. And let's never meet. 3 safe places. A bright laundromat at midnight where a friendly question about soap was a hand on my arm. A campus crawling with students where the car that said it would keep me safe was the danger. And a hospital full of waiting strangers where the one man who never asked for help walked across the dark toward my car. None of them hid in the shadows. None of them had to. Each one stood right in the middle of the crowd, and the crowd is exactly what hid him. So before you close the tab, ask yourself the quiet question. Of those 3, the talker who won't let you leave, the costume that says it's safe, the man who's waiting where everyone waits, which one would you have stayed polite for, or trusted, or explained away one more time? Tell me in the comments. Subscribe so the next one reaches you before the crowd does. And the next time you feel safe because you're not alone, look again at who's standing close and ask why no one else seems to see him.